former Secret Service special agent, and is, of all things, a Utica College graduate. So knows the area. Robert, thanks for coming back, and good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. Good morning, Utica.
So tell me, if you would, about, we've seen all this talk about the president's Space Force. Personally, I would have preferred giving the Air Force the ability to do, or NASA the ability to do, expand their services as opposed to going with something so Star Wars-like. But this is President Trump. Do we now have a reason for having a Space Force?
Absolutely. I think that we do. I think we should have had something like this continuously since the 60s. When we first put the man on the moon. And you have to look at the history behind us and what Russia is doing. I think that when President Bush came into office, love him or hate him, he's looked at the information presented to him and came up with the decision to have a separate unit just to deal with countering Russia and China.
Yeah,
and it's vitally needed.
Robert, I got to ask you, though, to Bill's point, before we launched Space Force, these threats were investigated and monitored, right? It was just done by a different branch.
And can I add one part of this, a little addendum to what you... I just have always believed that we have been there and we were on top of this. We just trust that our government is there to protect us.
Yeah, but you know how that goes, is that, it's ebbs and flows. In every administration, money is proposed or allocated for certain funds, and then on other administrations it's taken away.
Right.
And so then sometimes we have to play catch up. And I think what we're looking at here, what we call Space Force, is going to be a unit just specializing in that.
Yeah.
Where NASA, you have to look at too, is not just it's not for the military side per se. And so this is going to be just basically for safety and security.
Well, look how much we've cut funding to NASA over the years.
Absolutely, I think it was a mistake.
Yeah, I do too, and to the point where they're using independent contractors. Almost everybody's independent now. It's crazy. But so, tell me about what we know about this. Is this a satellite killer or a killer satellite?
I think a combination of both. Yeah. What their reports are coming out is one that there's satellites up there that, in many ways, will hack into other satellites. So they can either spy on them, disrupt them, cause them to go out of their orbit so they're not operational. That's one aspect of it. But then also Russia has been for a while, and so has the United States, developing laser-guided, missiles, but lasers down here on Earth that would shoot up and try to, quote-unquote, attack satellites that way, to disrupt them that way. There's over 20,000 satellites up in the sky. And so people don't realize how much junk is up there.
Yeah.
And so it's a big, vast minefield of communication tools and military tools that are just floating above our heads every day.
Well, and here's the other scary part of this, is you take a country that, when you really look at where Russia is today, where their economy is, without the nukes, Russia would be nothing. But if they can advance and become first with this space technology, just think of what taking out just key satellites could do to a nation. Banking, the power grid,
defense,
but our defense and our military as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more worried about our communications and our grid, the electric. The military has some redundancy and backups, but the mere fact is if that comes down, if you have no power, you're going to lose food within a few days.
Yeah.
And just imagine for a minute, if there's no power, no trucks coming to deliver food, up in Utica, in the surrounding areas, you have between probably a half a day and maybe 3 days before all the food will run out from the stores.
Yeah, think about
that.
And
then what do you do?
Yeah. Pretty scary times.
Absolutely, but we have to remember one thing is that where Russia is, we go back to, Putin goes back to Reagan's days in the KGB, and so people tend to forget that, the KGB guy, where we, quote-unquote, had Star Wars. And so I think that has been etched in his mind because I think he blames that for the collapse of the Soviet Union. So this is what they're trying to do now, to have their own Star Wars.
tell me that we're further ahead than ground zero?
We are, but the fact is that just being further ahead means that you always have to keep up on your toes, and I think we lost the edge, and I'm hoping that we will regain it.
Robert Caltabiano, thank you so much. Of course, you know Utica well, and we really appreciate it every time you come on.
Absolutely. God bless.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much. A former Secret Service special agent came a product. He is a product of Utica College. Pretty cool.